Literally less than 10 minutes after I posted this video, I already have to change it. So the rest of this video is still relevant with what Jared Isaacman has to say. But let me share with you what Donald J. Trump just posted on Truth Social. Our president just renominated Jared Isaacman. He wrote, "Sean Duffy has done an incredible job as interim administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. This evening, I am pleased to nominate Jared Isaacman, an accomplished business leader, philanthropist, pilot, and astronaut, as administrator of NASA. Jared's passion for space, astronaut experience, and dedication to pushing the boundaries of exploration, unlocking the mysteries of the universe, and advancing the new space economy make him ideally suited to lead NASA into a bold new era. Congratulations to Jared, his wife Monica, and their children Mila and Liv. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT." So I had to make that really quick edit, but let's get into what Jared had to say about this Athena plan and his relationship with Sean Duffy. So Jared Isaacman has broken his silence recently, talking about Sean Duffy, exactly where he stands with the acting NASA administrator and what he thinks that people should be focusing on right now. This all comes after people are talking about this Athena plan document. And so let me tell you a little bit more about that and then what Jared had to say. So Capitol Hill is suddenly buzzing about something called the Athena plan. According to reporting from Ars Technica, specifically Eric Berger, the GOAT, it's a leaked policy document supposedly outlining what billionaire private astronaut Jared Isaacman planned to do if he became NASA administrator. And this isn't just a quick memo, it's 62 pages long. From what Ars Technica describes, the Athena plan paints a picture of how Isaacman wanted to steer NASA, putting the agency back in the business of tackling the near impossible, pushing deeper into human space exploration, and working hand in hand with commercial space to get there. But the real story here isn't just what's in the document, it's how it got out. Ars Technica's Eric Berger reports that the plan was quietly circulating among Washington space insiders, and that the leak itself seems to be part of a political tug of war inside NASA. Interim Administrator Sean Duffy, who's been leading the agency temporarily since July, is reportedly trying to hold on to that job, even as the Trump administration is reconsidering Jared Isaacman for the role. According to Berger's reporting, only a couple people in Duffy's orbit had access to the shortened version of the plan, which makes the leak itself suspicious. Since then, it's been bouncing around lobbyists, contractors, and now reporters, but I have yet to see it myself. And here's where things get interesting. Eric Berger reports some of NASA's more traditional aerospace players are not thrilled. The plan calls for reviewing big-ticket programs and shifting toward commercial partnerships, which could threaten older cost-plus contracts. Not a bad thing, in my opinion. That's made certain lawmakers, though, especially from Alabama, home of the Space Launch System, or SLS, rally behind Sean Duffy and paint Jared Isaacman as being too close to SpaceX. But once again, Eric Berger points out that the document doesn't read like a SpaceX love letter. In fact, it also talks up Blue Origin and broader commercial collaboration. At the end of the day, this leak looks less like a policy debate and more like a power struggle between the old guard protecting its turf and a newer, more commercial vision for NASA's future. You guys know I'm always chasing what's next, from rockets to Mars missions, space breakthroughs, but to really understand the future, I need to stay grounded in what's happening here on Earth, too. And honestly, it's exhausting to try to keep up. The news cycle feels endless, it's also polarized, and it's hard to tell what's even true. That's why I've been reading 1440. I get their briefs straight to my inbox. And every time one comes in, I actually read it. It's short, smart, and gives me the facts without all the noise. No algorithms, just real human curated news that's easy to digest and surprisingly calming compared to doom scrolling. It makes me feel more informed without feeling overwhelmed. And I love that it's written for curious people who want to understand the world, not just argue about it. If you want something that feeds your curiosity instead of your anxiety, seriously check it out. Head to join1440.com. That's join1440.com and join the Knowledge Collective. It's the one email I actually look forward to opening, and that's saying something. And so Jared, the day after this article came out, wrote, quote, "It is unfortunate that NASA's team and the broader space community have to endure distractions like this. There are extraordinary opportunities and some risks ahead, and so the focus should be on the mission." With many reporters and other interested parties reaching out, I wanted to help bring some clarity to the discussion. Unfortunately, that means another long post. I have met Secretary Duffy many times and even flew him in a fighter jet at EAA Oshkosh, probably one of the coolest things a cabinet secretary can do. I have also told many people I think he has great instincts and is an excellent communicator, which is so important in leadership. If there is any friction, I suspect it is more political operators causing the controversy. This isn't an election or campaign for the NASA administrator job. The secretary is the leader, and I will root for his success across his many responsibilities. We both believe deeply in American leadership in the high ground of space, though we may differ on how to achieve that goal and whether NASA should remain an independent agency. It is true that Athena was a draft plan I worked on with a very small group from the time of my initial nomination through its withdrawal in May. Parts of it are now dated, and it was always intended to be a living document refined through data gathering post-confirmation. I would think it is better to have a plan going into a responsibility as great as the leadership of NASA than no plan at all. It is also true that only one 62-page version of the plan with unique header-footer markings was delivered in hard copy back in mid-August to a single party. I learned it was leaked to reporters and across industry last week. It seems some people are letting politics get in the way of the mission and the president's goals for space. Personally, I think the why behind the timing of this document circulating and the spin being given to reporters is the real story. While the full plan exceeded 100 pages, it is centered around 5 main priorities that I will summarize below, including some specifics on the topics attracting the most interest. There is the question, why not release the entire document? Well, one party is clearly circulating it, so I am sure that it is only a matter of time before it becomes public, in which case I will stand behind it. I think there are many elements of the plan that the space community and NASA would find exciting, and it would be disappointing if they never came to fruition. Mostly, I just don't think the space community needs to debate line by line while NASA and the rest of the government are going through a shutdown. I will say everything in the report is consistent with my Senate testimony, my written responses to the Senate for the record, and all the podcasts and papers I have ever spoken to on the subject. Reorganize and empower. Pivot from the drawn-out multi-phase RIF death by 1,000 cuts to a single data-driven reorganization aimed at reducing layers of bureaucracy between leadership and the engineers, researchers, and technicians, basically all the doers. Align departments tightly to the mission so that information flows for quick decision-making. One example, which was mischaracterized by a reporter, was exploring relocating all aircraft to Armstrong so there could be a single hierarchy for aviation operations, maintenance, and safety. From there, aircraft like T-38s would operate on detachment at JSC. Other goals of the reorganization would be to liberate the NASA budget from dated infrastructure that is in disrepair to free up resources to invest in what is needed for the mission of the day. And maybe, most importantly, re-energize a culture of empowerment, ownership, and urgency, and recalibrate a framework that acknowledges some risks are worth taking. American leadership in the high ground of space. Put more astronauts in space with greater frequency, including rebooting the payload specialist programs to give opportunities for the NASA workforce, especially on opportunities that could unlock the orbital economy, the chance to go to space. Fulfill the 35-year promise and President Trump's Artemis plan to return American astronauts to the moon, and determine the scientific, economic, and national security reasons to support an enduring lunar presence. Eventually, transition to an affordable, repeatable lunar architecture that supports frequent missions. When that foundation is built, shift resources toward the near impossible that no one else will work on, like nuclear electric propulsion for efficient transport of mass, active cooling of cryogenic propellants, surface power, and even potential DoD applications. To be clear, the plan does not issue a directive to cancel Gateway or SLS. In fact, the word Gateway is only used 3 times in the entire document. It does explore the possibility of pivoting hardware and resources to a nuclear electric propulsion program after the objectives of the president's budget are complete. On the same note, it also seeks to research the possibility that Orion could be launched on multiple platforms to support a variety of future mission applications. As an example of a report being dated, Senator Cruz has subsequently incorporated additional funding in the OBBB for further Artemis missions, which brings clarity to the topic. Solving the orbital economy, maximize the remaining life of the ISS, streamline the process for high potential science and research to reach orbit, partner with industry, pharmaceuticals, mining, biotech, etc., to figure out how to extract more value from space than we put in, and critically attempt to solve the orbital economy. That is the only way commercial space station companies will have a fighting chance to succeed. I don't think there is anything controversial here. We need to figure out how to pay for the exciting future we all want to see in space. NASA as a force multiplier for science. Leverage NASA's resources, financial, bulk buying, launch, and business from numerous providers, technical and operational expertise to increase the frequency of missions, reduce costs, and empower academic institutions to contribute to real discovery missions. The idea is to get some of that $1 trillion in university endowments into the fight, alongside NASA, to further science and discovery. Expand the CLIPS-style approach to planetary science to accelerate discovery and reduce time to science. Better to have 10 times $100 million missions and a few fail than a single overdue and costly $1 billion+ mission. I know the science as a service concept got people fired up, but that was specifically called out in the plan for Earth observation from companies that already have constellations like Planet, Black Sky, etc. Why build bespoke satellites at greater cost and delay when you could pay for the data as needed from existing providers and repurpose the funds for more planetary science missions, as an example? With respect to JPL, it was a research request to look at overlaps between the work of the laboratory and what prime contractors were also doing on their behalf. The report never even remotely suggested that America could ever do without the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Personally, I have publicly defended programs like the Chandra X-ray Observatory, offered to fund a Hubble reboost mission, and anything suggesting that I am anti-science or want to outsource that responsibility is simply untrue. Investing in the future. The congressionally mandated learning period will eventually expire, and the government will inevitably play a greater role in certifying commercial missions, crewed and uncrewed, just like they do with aircraft, ships, trains, etc. NASA eventually should build a Starfleet Academy to train and prepare the commercial industry to operate safely and successfully in this future space economy, and consolidate and upgrade mission control into a single NORAD of peaceful space, allowing JSC to become the spaceflight center of excellence and oversee multiple government and commercial missions simultaneously. Other investments for the future included AI, replacing dated IT systems, and ways to alleviate the demand of the deep space network. Closing. This plan never favored any one vendor, never recommended closing centers, or directed the cancellation of programs before objectives were achieved. The plan valued human exploration as much as scientific discovery. It was written as a starting place to give NASA, international partners, and the commercial sector the best chance for long-term success. The more I see imperfections of politics and the lengths people will go, the more I want to serve and be part of the solution, because I love NASA and I love my country. And so a lot of the sentiment in the comments is basically the same one that I have, which is Jared Isaacman is the right person for the job. He was back in May when his nomination was pulled. People are saying, Jared is the man with the plan. And so I just wanted to share this with you because he released this response pretty recently. And I know that there's been a lot of, rumors and drama going on. Elon Musk has been involved, not really liking some of the tweets or posts that Sean Duffy has shared recently. And so finally, Jared, who still very much wants that position as NASA administrator, despite everything what happened, he could easily have said, I don't want it, you rejected me, I deserved it, and moved on. But I think that he is probably the only person qualified to actually make real change and get NASA headed in the right direction again. And so it's really nice to hear not only that he still wants the job, but that he's also paying attention clearly to what's going on. He's being transparent and he's giving us this insight. So that's the most up-to-date information that we have. As I mentioned in another video, this is actually not the longest gap that NASA has had in between administrators, but hopefully the Trump administration does end up choosing Jared, as they should have done a long time ago. I mean, we're wasting precious time here and money, and hopefully Jared is able to get that job, because I'm definitely Team Jared. But I wanted to share this with you. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.